Most of us depend on freezers, refrigerators, and packaged solutions to keep our food from going bad. But the Amish do things differently. Without electricity or modern appliances, they manage to store food safely for months, sometimes even through an entire winter season, using methods that have been passed down for generations. These techniques aren't based on convenience or trends. They're practical, reliable, and built around understanding how food behaves over time. From root cellars to fermentation, from drying to canning without electricity, every step has a purpose. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at 40 food preservation methods the Amish use every day. Methods that work quietly and effectively, no matter the season. Number 1. Root cellars and earth caches. One of the smartest and most enduring methods the Amish rely on for long-term food storage is the use of root cellars, also called earth caches. These aren't just random holes dug in the yard. They're thoughtfully designed, insulated spaces built underground, often into hillsides or beneath barns and homes. What makes them so effective is the way they take advantage of the Earth's natural ability to regulate temperature and moisture. Unlike modern refrigerators, which depend on electricity, root cellars use nothing but soil and stone to maintain a cool, steady environment, usually around 35 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the sweet spot for storing many vegetables and fruits over the winter. Inside a well-built root cellar, you'll find shelves lined with jars of home-canned goods, baskets of potatoes and carrots packed in straw, crates of apples separated to prevent spoiling, and onions or garlic braided and hung from the ceiling. Everything is placed with care to allow for airflow and prevent rot. Humidity is just as important as temperature. Too dry and produce shrivels. Too moist and mold takes over. The Amish monitor both using simple tricks like placing a wet towel or opening vents. It's a low-tech, high-skill method that outlasts any blackout and keeps food secure without a single wire or switch. Number 2. Canning without electricity. Amish families have perfected the art of canning without relying on modern appliances. Instead of electric pressure canners, they use heavy-duty stovetop versions heated over wood-burning stoves or propane flames, maintaining precise temperatures by experience and observation. They practice 2 main types: hot water bath canning, ideal for high-acid foods like fruits, tomatoes, and jams, and pressure canning, used for low-acid items such as meats, soups, and green beans. Their kitchens are often filled with the rhythmic clinking of jars being sealed, lids popping as they cool and vacuum shut. Every jar is labeled, organized, and rotated through the seasons. Their cellars become miniature pantries filled with a rainbow of preserved goods: pickled beets, stewed tomatoes, seasoned green beans, pear halves and syrup, and even hearty beef stews. Amish canning isn't just about food. It's a tradition that ties generations together. Mothers teach daughters, grandfathers oversee pressure gauges, and everyone participates when a big harvest comes in. It's practical, sustainable, and entirely independent of the grid. Number 3. Drying foods the old way. Before dehydrators and climate-controlled drying ovens, the Amish turned to wind, sun, and time to preserve food. Herbs are harvested at peak freshness, tied into small bundles, and hung from ceiling beams in kitchens or porches where warm, dry air circulates. Apples are sliced thin and strung onto twine, then left to air dry until they become chewy and sweet. Corn is removed from the cob, spread on screens, and stirred daily to prevent mold. One of their oldest traditions is the making of leather breeches, green beans carefully threaded with a needle, creating long garlands that are hung like decorations until completely dry. These dried beans can later be tossed into soups and stews, rehydrating beautifully while retaining flavor. Drying food this way requires patience, awareness of weather conditions, and proper storage in breathable cloth bags or sealed glass jars to keep insects out. It's a slow process, but one that requires no power, no plastic, and nearly no cost, just skill passed down by experience. Number 4. Smoking for flavor and longevity. For the Amish, smoking meat is far more than a culinary choice. It's a preservation necessity deeply rooted in tradition. Their smokehouses are modest structures made from wood, often found near the barn or garden, where hams, sausages, and even slabs of bacon are hung on hooks for days at a time. A fire made from hardwoods like hickory, apple, or cherry is carefully tended, its low heat and aromatic smoke slowly curing the meat. The entire process is hands-on, relying on feel, smell, and timing passed from one generation to the next. Smoking removes moisture, hardens the exterior of the meat, and infuses it with antibacterial compounds from the smoke itself. When stored in a cool pantry or wrapped in cloth, this meat can last for months without refrigeration. It's not uncommon for Amish families to prepare dozens of smoked hams before winter sets in, knowing they'll provide nourishment and flavor even during the harshest weeks. This method creates bold, savory flavors while ensuring long-term food safety. Number 5. Fermenting instead of freezing. Fermentation is one of the most fascinating preservation methods in the Amish kitchen, transforming ordinary vegetables into tangy, probiotic-rich delicacies. Amish women don't rely on store-bought jars or quick methods. Instead, they reach for large, heavy crocs, usually made of ceramic, where shredded cabbage, whole cucumbers, or sliced beets are packed in layers with salt. No vinegar is needed. Instead, natural bacteria begin the fermentation process, creating lactic acid which safely preserves the food and enhances its nutritional value. Weights, sometimes simple polished stones or carved wooden discs, are placed on top to keep vegetables submerged beneath the brine, preventing mold and spoilage. In cool cellars or pantries, these crocs bubble gently for days or weeks, producing crisp sauerkraut, bright pickles, and sometimes beet kvass or turnip mash. There's no freezing involved and no spoilage if kept properly sealed and cool. These fermented foods aren't just preserved, they're alive with flavor and culture, deeply embedded in Amish culinary tradition. Number 6. Salt curing and brining. Long before modern refrigeration, the Amish turned to one of the oldest preservation methods known to humanity: salt curing. Pork, their primary meat source, is often layered in coarse salt, mixed with brown sugar and occasionally spices like pepper and bay leaf. The salted meat is stored in wooden barrels or shallow crocs, where the salt pulls moisture out over several days or even weeks. This process creates an environment too harsh for bacteria to thrive, extending the meat's shelf life dramatically. In addition to dry salt curing, the Amish also practice wet brining, submerging cuts of meat in salty solutions, sometimes with a touch of molasses or vinegar to keep them tender and flavorful. After curing, the meat may be hung to dry further or smoked for added preservation. Salt pork, slabs of cured bacon, and ham are common results of this method and can be stored for months in a cool place. This method emphasizes not just flavor but security and reliability in food storage, especially in the colder months. Number 7. Lard and fat sealing. One of the more overlooked but incredibly effective preservation methods the Amish use involves sealing food in fat, particularly lard. After meats like sausage, shredded pork, or even liverwurst are cooked, they're packed tightly into clean glass jars. Then, hot, rendered lard is poured over the meat, creating a thick, airtight layer as it cools and hardens. This layer prevents air and bacteria from reaching the food underneath, effectively preserving it for several months without refrigeration. These fat-sealed jars are stored in cool pantries or cellars, where the contents remain safe and flavorful. When it's time to eat, the lard is often reused for frying or cooking, making the entire process waste-free. This technique is especially useful during the winter months, when fresh meat isn't as easily butchered. It reflects the Amish approach to using every part of the animal and storing food in a self-sufficient, practical manner that doesn't rely on modern technology or constant electricity. Number 8. Root vegetables in sand. To keep root vegetables fresh through long winters, the Amish use a technique that mimics the conditions of the soil they were harvested from. They take wooden crates or barrels and fill them with slightly damp, clean sand. Carrots, parsnips, beets, and even turnips are carefully buried in layers, making sure they never touch each other. This setup prevents bruising, rot, and dehydration. The sand keeps moisture levels balanced while shielding the vegetables from light and air. It also protects against pests and temperature fluctuations. Often stored in cool basements or root cellars, these sand-filled boxes allow vegetables to stay crisp and usable for months without refrigeration. It's a low-cost, low-tech approach that works surprisingly well. Number 9. Cool pantries and summer kitchens. Amish homes are designed with food storage in mind, and one feature you'll often find is a cool pantry, an unheated room, usually built on the shady north side of the house. These pantries have thick walls, small windows, and excellent ventilation, helping maintain a consistently cool temperature year-round. They're used to store everything from canned goods and dried beans to jars of lard and baskets of produce. In the hotter months, many families also use separate outbuildings known as summer kitchens. These are simple structures where cooking, baking, and canning are done away from the main house, preventing indoor heat buildup. By keeping food prep outside, the pantry stays cooler, reducing spoilage risks. Number 10. Molasses and vinegar preservation. Molasses and vinegar are more than just flavorful ingredients in Amish cooking. They're powerful natural preservatives. Vinegar, with its high acidity, is used to pickle everything from eggs and cucumbers to beets and even fruits like peaches. Once submerged in a seasoned vinegar brine, these foods are protected from bacterial growth and last for months in jars. Molasses, on the other hand, plays a quiet but important role in baked goods and fruit spreads. It binds moisture and acts as a mild preservative, especially when used in conjunction with spices. The Amish take advantage of these shelf-stable ingredients to extend the life of their food while adding depth and richness to their recipes. Number 11. Dry storage in burlap and linen. For dry goods like grains, beans, and flour, the Amish avoid plastic or metal containers. Instead, they prefer natural fabric sacks made from linen or burlap. These breathable materials allow for airflow, which helps prevent mold and condensation. At the same time, they offer enough protection to keep out insects and rodents. The sacks are stored in wooden bins or hung from rafters to deter pests and make space easy to organize. Amish families regularly inspect and rotate their supplies, always using the oldest stock first to maintain freshness. This simple, thoughtful system keeps bulk ingredients clean, dry, and usable over long periods, even without climate-controlled storage. Number 12. Wax sealing jams and jellies. Before modern canning lids became widespread, sealing jams with wax was a common practice, and it's one the Amish still use today for certain preserves. After cooking down fruits with sugar to create thick jams or jellies, the mixture is poured into sterilized glass jars. While still warm, a layer of melted paraffin wax is gently poured over the surface, creating an airtight barrier that hardens as it cools. This layer blocks out air and moisture, both of which can spoil the jam. When ready to use, the wax is popped off and set aside for reuse. It's a time-tested method that doesn't rely on complicated equipment and still preserves flavor beautifully. Number 13. Apple butter and fruit leather. Instead of relying on freezers to store their fruit harvests, the Amish cook fruit into thick, rich apple butter or dry it into chewy fruit leather. Apple butter is made by simmering apples slowly over many hours, often with cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg, until it becomes dark, smooth, and intensely flavorful. It's then sealed in jars and stored like any other preserve. Fruit leather, on the other hand, starts with pureed fruit that's spread in thin layers onto wooden boards or cloth, then left to dry in warm, shaded spots. Once dried, it's rolled up and wrapped in wax paper or cloth. Both methods make fruit last without freezing. Number 14. Cheese waxing. To extend the shelf life of hard cheeses, Amish homesteaders use a traditional waxing technique. After forming and aging a wheel or block of cheese for several weeks, they coat it with layers of melted cheese wax, sealing the surface completely. This wax forms a protective shield against mold, air, and moisture, allowing the cheese to continue aging without spoiling. The wax cheeses are stored on wooden shelves in cool, dry cellars where temperatures remain stable. Over time, flavors deepen and textures develop, much like in professional cheese caves. When they're ready to be eaten, the wax is peeled off, revealing perfectly preserved, flavorful cheese inside. Number 15. Homemade vinegar from scraps. Instead of tossing out apple peels and cores, the Amish often turn them into homemade vinegar. They fill a crock or jar with the fruit scraps, cover them with water, and add a bit of sugar to kickstart fermentation. The mixture is stirred regularly and left uncovered or loosely covered with cloth, allowing natural yeast in the air to work their magic. Over a few weeks, the liquid transforms into a sharp, tangy vinegar. Once strained and bottled, it's ready for use in pickling, cooking, or even household cleaning. This slow process not only reduces waste, but ensures they always have a supply of fresh, natural vinegar on hand. Number 16. Dried corn and popcorn. Corn holds a central place in Amish homesteads, and it's not just eaten fresh off the cob. Much of it is dried for long-term use. Sweet corn is often cut off the cob and spread out to dry on screens, where it's stirred daily until hard and brittle. It can be stored for soups or rehydrated for side dishes. Popcorn is treated differently. It's often left on the cob and hung from ceiling beams in pantries or barns. The kernels stay attached until they're ready to be popped, sometimes months later. These drying techniques require no electricity, just time and attention to humidity and airflow. Number 17. Seasonal eating and rotation. The Amish follow nature's rhythm instead of fighting it, embracing a lifestyle where the diet shifts with the seasons. Fresh strawberries and peas dominate spring tables, while corn, tomatoes, and green beans fill the summer months. Come fall, apples, pumpkins, and squash take over, and during winter, meals rely on root vegetables, preserved meats, canned goods, and dried grains. This seasonal approach not only simplifies storage, but also ensures every preserved item is eventually consumed. Once the canned peaches are gone, they don't try to replace them until the next harvest. Rotation is second nature. Older jars and dried foods are used first, reducing waste and maintaining freshness. Number 18. Clay and crock storage. Thick-walled clay crocks remain a favorite among Amish households for storing foods that benefit from darkness and consistent coolness. These ceramic containers hold everything from sour pickles and sauerkraut to lard-sealed meats. Because the material breathes slightly, it helps manage moisture and temperature fluctuations naturally. The lids, often weighted or cloth-covered, keep pests and dust out while allowing internal fermentation to continue safely. Crops of this kind are usually stored in cellars or dark pantry corners where temperature stays stable. Their durability and simplicity make them reliable across generations, often handed down with recipes for whatever they've contained, whether tangy kraut or pork simmered in its own fat. Number 19. Homemade butter and buttermilk. Butter making is a weekly ritual on Amish farms, often done after milking cows in the morning. The cream is skimmed off, churned by hand or with a crank-powered churner, and worked into golden butter. Because it has very low moisture content and is stored in a cool pantry or cellar, it stays fresh for quite a while without refrigeration. The buttermilk left behind from churning isn't wasted. It's immediately used in baking biscuits, pancakes, or bread. This efficient use of dairy eliminates unnecessary storage and ensures nothing spoils. Butter is often formed into blocks or stored in glass jars, then covered and set in the coolest room of the house. Number 20. Homemade pasta and dried noodles. In Amish kitchens, making pasta isn't reserved for special occasions. It's a seasonal necessity. Women gather for dedicated noodle days where eggs and flour are kneaded into stiff dough, rolled out with worn rolling pins, and sliced into thin strips. These noodles are then laid out on wooden racks or clean linens to dry thoroughly, sometimes for several days depending on humidity. Once dry, they're packed into paper bags or cloth sacks and stored in a dry pantry. These egg noodles are used all winter in soups, casseroles, or served with gravy over potatoes. Because they're handmade and thoroughly dried, they can last for months without spoiling. Number 21. Pie filling in jars. When fruit trees are heavy with harvest, Amish cooks get busy preparing pie fillings to enjoy long after the last apple or cherry falls. The fruit is peeled, sliced, and mixed with sugar, spices, and thickeners like flour or cornstarch. Once cooked down to a rich consistency, the mixture is ladled into sterilized jars and sealed using traditional canning methods. These ready-to-use fillings make winter baking effortless. Just pour into a crust and bake. You'll find rows of jars filled with spiced peaches, tart cherries, and cinnamon apples lined up neatly in cool pantries. This method captures the flavor of summer and saves precious time during the colder months. Number 22. Grape juice and jelly. During late summer, Amish families harvest grapes to create richly flavored juice and jelly. Grapes are washed and pressed, often using simple hand-cranked juicers, and the juice is simmered and sweetened before being canned. Some of it is left as pure juice, stored in glass jars for drinking or mixing with other beverages. The remaining pulp becomes jelly, cooked with sugar and pectin, then sealed in jars for long-term storage. Nothing is wasted. Grape skins and seeds are fed to animals or composted. Pantry shelves are often lined with rows of deep purple jars, offering a sweet reminder of the warm months during cold winter breakfasts. Number 23. Harvest feasts and communal preservation. Preservation in Amish communities isn't just a personal chore, it's a social event. When crops are ready or livestock needs butchering, families gather to help each other. It's common for a dozen people to show up at one home to peel apples, snap beans, or process meat. These gatherings turn massive workloads into joyful events with shared meals, laughter, and storytelling. Large outdoor stoves are used for canning, and dozens of jars are filled in one day. It's not just about efficiency, it strengthens community ties and ensures everyone has enough food. No one is left to handle overwhelming harvests alone, and nothing is allowed to go to waste. Number 24. Outdoor cold frames and winter storage. To extend the growing season and store certain vegetables outdoors, the Amish use cold frames, low wooden boxes with clear covers like mini greenhouses. They're set against barns or houses and packed with hardy crops such as spinach, kale, or green onions. Inside, plants stay protected from frost while soaking up winter sunlight. Others take a more rustic approach, digging pits or using barrels insulated with straw and buried in the ground. These earth caches keep turnips, cabbage, and carrots cool but unfrozen, allowing families to access fresh produce well into winter. It's a low-maintenance way to keep food available without electricity or heated storage spaces. Number 25. Maple syrup and tree sap. Late winter brings maple season, when Amish families head into sugarbush groves with buckets and hand drills. They tap maple trees, hang metal pails to collect the sap, and carry it back to large open pans set over wood fires. The sap is boiled for hours until it thickens into golden syrup. Stored in sterilized jars or jugs, this syrup can last indefinitely if sealed properly. Some of the sap is reduced further into maple sugar or molded into candies, compact, shelf-stable sweeteners. It's a process that brings families together outdoors in the cold, with the scent of boiling sap filling the crisp air. Number 26. Dried beans and peas. Throughout the growing season, beans and peas are allowed to mature fully on the vine until their pods are dry and brittle. Once harvested, the pods are shelled by hand, and the beans are spread out on trays or cloths to dry further. Amish families often store them in cloth sacks or glass jars with tight-fitting lids to protect them from moisture and pests. These dried legumes are a cornerstone of winter cooking, offering protein and hardiness for stews, baked dishes, and soups. Their longevity and versatility make them one of the most practical and essential staples in the Amish pantry. Number 27. Leafy greens blanched and dried. Amish families know leafy greens like spinach, kale, and chard are too fragile to store fresh for long, so they take steps to preserve them as soon as they're harvested. One method is blanching, briefly boiling the greens, then plunging them into cold water to stop the cooking. Afterward, the greens are either spread on screens to air dry or in communities with access to block ice, frozen for later use. Dried greens are crumbled into flakes and stored in jars, ready to be tossed into soups, stews, or baked casseroles during the colder months. These greens maintain much of their nutrition and add depth to winter meals. Number 28. Ice houses and block ice. In Amish communities without electricity, cold storage in the warmer months is made possible through ice houses, insulated structures filled with massive blocks of ice. These blocks are harvested in winter from frozen ponds or rivers, cut with handsaws, and packed tightly in sawdust to insulate them from melting. Stored inside the ice house, these blocks can last deep into summer. Milk, cream, butter, and other perishables are placed in compartments within or beside these ice-filled chambers to keep them chilled. This system requires no refrigeration, just annual labor and planning. And it works with remarkable efficiency in preserving essential dairy and food supplies. Number 29. Homegrown spices and seeds. Flavor in Amish cooking doesn't come from store-bought seasonings, it's cultivated right in the garden. Families grow herbs and spice plants like dill, mustard, coriander, and celery seed, which are harvested, dried, and stored for year-round use. These homegrown spices play a vital role in preservation, particularly in brines and pickling mixtures. Dill heads are added to jars of cucumbers, mustard seeds go into relishes, and celery seed flavors everything from slaws to vinegar-based sauces. By saving seeds each season, they ensure a constant supply without needing to purchase anything. This self-sufficient cycle of growing, drying, and reusing closes the loop beautifully. Number 30. Meat hanging in cold weather. When temperatures drop below freezing, Amish households take advantage of nature's cold by hanging fresh meat in outdoor sheds, barns, or enclosed porches. The cold air acts as a natural refrigerator, allowing large cuts of beef, pork, or venison to cure slowly in the open air. Meat is hung on hooks or wooden beams, exposed to dry winter air that reduces moisture and inhibits bacterial growth. This method requires no electricity and no additives, just the right timing and a cold enough environment. Once fully cured or partially dried, the meat is either used immediately, smoked, or brought inside for canning or further preservation. Number 31. Pressure canned meats and stews. To keep hearty meals on hand throughout the year, the Amish pressure can meats and full stews in large glass jars. Cuts of beef, chicken, or even rabbit are browned, packed into jars with broth, herbs, and root vegetables, then sealed and processed under high pressure to ensure safety. These ready-to-eat jars sit on pantry shelves, waiting for cold days when quick meals are needed. With no refrigeration required, they provide warmth and nourishment, often just needing to be reheated. The richness of homemade stew or tender meat straight from a jar is a comfort, especially when made entirely from ingredients grown or raised at home. Number 32. Bread dried for crumbs and stuffing. Nothing is wasted in an Amish kitchen, not even stale bread. Leftover loaves are sliced and left to dry until hard, either in warm kitchens or laid out in baskets in dry rooms. Once completely hardened, they're broken up into rusks or crushed into coarse breadcrumbs using a rolling pin or mortar. These crumbs are stored in cloth bags or jars, ready to be added to stuffing, used as a binder in meat dishes, or sprinkled over casseroles. Drying bread extends its usefulness by months and transforms something that might be discarded into a versatile cooking staple. Number 33. Animal feed from scraps. Amish households maintain a near-zero waste kitchen by feeding fruit and vegetable scraps to their animals. Peelings, cores, wilted greens, and even stale baked goods are collected daily and given to pigs, chickens, or goats. This natural recycling method reduces the need for commercial feed and ensures that nothing edible ends up in the trash. Chickens benefit from the extra protein and vegetables, while pigs eagerly consume almost anything. This practice not only stretches food value, but helps maintain healthy livestock, making it a practical and efficient part of their farm ecosystem that keeps the preservation system clean and full circle. Number 34. rendered tallow and soap making. After butchering, the fat from cattle or sheep is never discarded. Instead, it's slowly melted down into tallow, a pure, shelf-stable fat used in cooking, candle making, and soap production. The rendering process involves heating the fat until it liquefies, then straining it through cheesecloth to remove impurities. Once cooled, it solidifies into a creamy white block that's stored in crocs or jars. Tallow can be blended with lye to make soap, or simply used to fry potatoes and preserve cooked meat. Its long shelf life and versatility make it a treasured byproduct that supports multiple parts of daily Amish life. Number 35. Natural pest control in storage. Keeping stored food pest-free without chemicals is a priority for the Amish, and they've developed clever, natural solutions. Bay leaves are tucked into sacks of beans and grains to deter insects, while peppermint oil-soaked cotton balls are placed around shelves to ward off ants and mice. Cedar shavings are used in storage bins to keep weevils away, and dried herbs hang from rafters for added protection. Barn cats roam freely, controlling rodent populations the old-fashioned way. This blend of plant-based repellents and traditional animal rolls keeps storage spaces clean without relying on poisons, sprays, or modern pest control tools. Number 36. Multilayer storage. Rather than keeping everything in one centralized pantry, Amish families divide their food stores across several locations, each suited to different needs. Root vegetables are kept in underground cellars, canned goods line cool pantries, dried herbs hang in kitchen attics, and smoked meats rest in separate sheds. This decentralized system offers protection against spoilage, pests, and temperature fluctuations. If one area becomes too warm or compromised, only a portion of the stored food is affected. It also encourages regular movement and rotation of supplies, keeping items fresh and organized. This layered storage strategy is intentional, secure, and time-tested across generations. Number 37. Community sharing and barter. In Amish communities, abundance is meant to be shared. When one family has more tomatoes than they can preserve, and another has extra dried beans, a simple barter takes place. Eggs might be traded for honey, or apples swapped for flour. This system of exchange eliminates waste and reduces dependence on cash or external markets. It also strengthens neighborly ties, ensuring that no family lacks essentials when others have plenty. Bartering isn't just economic, it's cultural. It teaches cooperation, gratitude, and balance. And because most families specialize in different crops or skills, everyone brings something unique to the table. Number 38. Rainwater for washing produce. Instead of relying on well water or municipal systems, many Amish households collect rainwater in barrels or cisterns, using it to rinse fresh produce before storage. Rainwater is naturally soft and free from additives like chlorine, making it gentler on fruits and vegetables. When washing root crops or leafy greens before canning or drying, this subtle difference helps preserve texture and slows down early spoilage. The rainwater is collected through gutters, filtered with screens, and used immediately or stored in covered containers. This practice conserves water, lowers dependence on pumps or plumbing, and taps directly into a clean, renewable source. Number 39. Faith in simplicity and routine. Much of Amish food preservation success isn't about specific tools. It's rooted in their steady, unwavering routines. Baking happens on certain days, canning is done seasonally, and cellars are checked regularly for signs of spoilage. This rhythm creates a deep familiarity with supplies and allows quick response when something goes wrong. Nothing is left to chance. Everything has a place and time. Simplicity isn't just a belief, it's a discipline. By not overcomplicating their systems, they make preservation predictable and efficient. Their mindset is centered around respect for the process, and that's what keeps the food fresh and their pantries full year after year. Number 40. Passing knowledge by doing. In Amish culture, food preservation isn't taught through books or online videos. It's lived and handed down through daily experience. A child learns how to can tomatoes by watching and helping their mother stir the pot, or wipe jar rims. Hey? Teenagers join in butchering days, learning how to salt and hang meat from uncles and grandfathers. These moments aren't formal lessons, they're part of life, woven into family routines and seasonal cycles. Over time, the techniques become second nature. This hands-on passing of knowledge ensures that the skills stay alive, preserved through memory, repetition, and community effort, just like the food itself.